What's up, y'all? It's Matt Forte here on Tuesday Morning Running Back, your favorite show. That's why you tuned in, because it's your favorite running back's favorite running back. But also, no, if those of you are watching, we're not changing to Tuesday Morning Tight End. You might see my man, my big brother Benjamin Watson on here, but I need some expertise, to help me out this week on Tuesday Morning Running Back, but also to talk about something that's more and bigger, honestly, than football. Ben, welcome back to Sports Spectrum. You've been on here many times, but just wanted to engage you a little bit about something because as I always call you my big brother, I've always kind of looked up to you because of not just football, being a father of the tribe of Benjamin, but also the way that you stand up for things that and issues in this world. And one of those issues being religious persecution, most notably in Nigeria, that kind of is not making headlines, not getting a lot of attention. And something went out this week, a letter to the White House. Can you just talk a little bit about, that and where that came from?
For sure. Well, it's always a pleasure to be with you guys. I appreciate you letting me crash the running back party in here. Before I even get to that, I really wanted to be a running back. I mean, I played running back in ninth grade football. It's just fun just to have the ball all the time, but then you get hit a whole lot. And I mean, I was fast enough, but not as fast as you, so that wouldn't have lasted forever. But I always got a lot of respect for running backs. So anyway, just wanted to
Well,
say
some people may differ if you talk about speed on that one highlight that will forever be played. Somebody chasing down Champ Bailey to the one, if you don't know what I'm talking
that.
about, look it up.
Hey, I was an athlete. Now I was an athlete. They just didn't let me have the ball all the time. But anyway, so no, good to be with you guys. Matt, thanks for bringing up that topic. So yeah, for those that don't know, Nigeria has been undergoing, Christians in Nigeria specifically have been undergoing persecution for probably the last 20 years. As you noted, much of it has gone under the radar. Most of us in the West don't really hear about it. Even in our church communities, it's not something that we talk about a whole lot. I've heard people talk about persecution in China, which is important, persecution in other areas of the world. All of it is important. Hebrews 13:3 talks about remembering, those that are in prison, notably in prison or being persecuted for their faith, as if we were with them. And so as believers, it's imperative upon us to be aware of what our brothers and sisters are going through throughout the world. I've always said, here in the United States, we have been very fortunate over the last, couple hundred years as far as being able to exercise our faith, not facing the type of persecution, at least physically, economically, occupationally, that some of our brothers and sisters are experiencing right now. And I always say it's incumbent upon us to be aware of what's happening, because there may be a point in time where we are looking to sub-Saharan Africa, help us over here. Like there could be a time where our kids or our kids' are suffering the way that they are, and we would want them to advocate for us, to send us resources, to pray for us, all those sorts of things. So just because it's not happening now in this country doesn't mean that it won't be happening in another 5, 10, 15, 50, 100 years. Specifically when it comes to Nigeria, as I mentioned, the last 20 years, Open Doors released this stat. They said in the last year, 9 out of 10 Christians who were killed for their faith were in sub-Saharan Africa. 9 out of 10. And the enormity of what's happening, though it's largely under the radar, numbers are starting to trickle out, but it's very difficult for us to understand the magnitude of what's happening. I just want to set the table really quickly. I'll hit it back to you. Just a little bit of estimates. And these are estimates because we don't really know how many people are being displaced, how many people are being killed. But according to Open Doors, this organization that tracks Christian persecution, they said that 4,000 Christians were killed between October 2022 and September 2023. They said the year prior, from 2021 to 2022, was 5,014 Christian deaths. So that's just 10,000 in 2 years. Global Christian Relief, another organization, indicates that 50,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria in the past 14 years. The Christian Post, which is a media outlet that reports Christian news around the world, reported that nearly 10,000 Nigerian Christians were killed between November 2022 and November of 2024. And the list goes on and on. International Committee on Nigeria, a man named Stephen Inyata, who's a friend of mine, they've done a deep dive over the last 20 years and documented the murders, the rapes, the abductions, the maimings, largely from Fulani Islamic militants against Christian communities. And they have compiled a list of names that they can get. They've also, really dug deep into restoration and recovery for some of these individuals. But he told me that the numbers of the last 20 years can exceed 100,000. Just don't know. So what we did as NFL athletes, you were part of this as well. We want to let our voice be heard. And so about 60 or so former players, active players got together, compiled a letter with some of these partners, just talking about what's happening. We sent the letter to the President of the United States, as well as key congressional leaders, outlining what's happening in the region, but also offering some substantive policy options, really to just encourage our government to do what we can, really to change and to protect people and to protect religious freedom. We are just one community of voices amongst a whole host of others that are talking about this right now. And while we can't, physically just change it like we may want to, I think it's important that, number one, that we're aware, but also that we lend our voice and our influence, really to encourage people to do the same.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being, kind of leading the way on this, and it's something that's important. I mean, when you really think about it and get granular, it's really our purpose to utilize God's platform in a way that is sheds light on things like this, but also stands up for the little guy that is out there. Not that they're little, it's just that it's not getting any attention. And as you said too, who's to say that 50, 100 something years from now that, though we take it for granted, the luxuries that we have in this country, the wealthiest country to this date in the history of the world, that we wouldn't need that or want someone to stand up for us in that type of situation. We often, this is what I, struggle with sometimes, is that we get so comfortable in where we are that we don't put ourselves in other people's shoes, to where, I mean, when we get down to it, it doesn't matter whether it was, Christians or black or white or this or that, whatever religion, murdering people is wrong. It doesn't matter. But in this particular situation, the Lord talks about it in His Word, that you will, if those who want to live a righteous life, you will be persecuted, and you'll be hated for my name's sake and things like that. So, God has called us to stand up, and he's, justice and righteousness is at the foot of His throne, and it's not just and it's not righteous behavior. But I've also I know you have some friends out there. I know I have many friends that's also Nigerian athletes that play in the league as well. I have some friends that actually moved over there and lived when they were younger for a few years with family and stuff like that, and that the issues are a little bit deeper too, to where sometimes it's kind of a land grab, where there's land there's ancestral stuff that is going on, and people are trying to take over, to the point where there's people who are hurting their animals with AK-47s, over there. So when it comes to this kind of issue, I guess I want to ask, like, why is it so important for, to not have the mindset of, well, what can we do? It's just, all we're doing is writing a letter, or just maybe we're shining light. We're not really, is it making an impact? You can have that negative kind of, mentality, to where the starfish thing, like, oh, there's all these starfish, but the one guy who's like, well, I'm helping this one, right?
Yeah, and that's the frustrating part about it, because of the magnitude of the atrocity. And to your point, it's very complex. There have been some theories that this has to do with global warming and people, migrating. Again, this is a different cultural context than what we're used to. Tribal, ancestral lands, those sorts of things. And so we never want to project our understanding of counties and states and our laws upon another country. It's totally different. But when you look at the results, the outcomes have been that largely Christian communities and Christian pastors and churches that have been burned, Christian pastors have been abducted and maimed. Even going back to the story of the schoolgirls and Leah Sharibu, who was abducted several years ago, and 100 girls or so were abducted from a school. She was the one who was the professing Christian. The other girls were released. She wasn't. She's since been married off to several different people. Reports are that she's had children. I had an opportunity to speak through Zoom to her parents years ago, probably around 2018, just to see them. And so even though there is, as you mentioned, some of that as far as land grabbing and the government's inability or denial of protection for communities, the large majority are Christian communities, churches that are being impacted. As far as what we can do, it's frustrating to me. I'm somebody that like tries to solve things. I'm sure you're the same way. You're a father. When your kid, your daughter comes up to you and says, "Daddy, I need this," you will move hell and high water like to fix it. Like that's what we do. That's how God created us as men, as fathers, as husbands, to fix stuff. And so I can get kind of frustrated and feel, sidelined because if I can't really do anything, it's the most frustrating place to be. I was talking to Dr. Russell Moore. He is editor in chief of Christianity Today, public theologian. And he said these words to me. He said that the response doesn't always have to match the enormity of the problem. In so many words, that's what he said. And what he meant was that the enormity of the problem in this case is millions of people being displaced. I was speaking to a woman who runs an organization. She was here in the United States, and I had a chance to visit with her. And she suffered for the last 20 years, saw her family be murdered, her father. But she runs an organization that helps many of the widows and with recovery and, learning different job skills, those sorts of things. And she was doing her small part, but she couldn't keep up with the fact that more and more people were being displaced. Frustrating place to be. And what Dr. Moore was saying for her and for us is that our response doesn't have to solve everything at one time, but we can do something.
Yeah.
And that's what we're responsible for. Most immediately, our response to something like this is to pray. It's really simple. Like we have a prayer wall at our house, and the kids put up, different things they want to pray for. It could be an injury that they saw in the NFL. Sometimes when we were in the NFL, they would literally pray for my teammates' injuries. Like Mr. Josh hurt his knee, we're gonna pray for him, and they would write it up there on the wall. To things like their grandfather being sick, or grandmother, something happened with her, or maybe it's a test at school, or maybe it's some anxiety that they're having. We write it up there. Well, Nigeria is on the wall. So it's something that we can pray for, and we're charged to pray. The reality of it is, even going back to our earlier conversation about the magnitude of what's happening around the world and how we feel comfortable, as you put it, here in the United States. When we're comfortable, we don't pray. At least I don't. I'll speak for myself. When I'm comfortable, I don't feel like I have to pray. And what our brothers and sisters on the ground over there would say, like, pray for us.
Yeah.
Ask that God not only protect us, but that he changed the hearts of those who are persecuting us. We see that throughout Scripture.
Yeah.
Those things happen. So we can pray. And then other things that, people on the ground would say that they want, that they want protection. Now we can't go over there and protect them, but we can urge the authorities to protect them. That they want justice. A lot of what we've talked about, Matt, and what I talk about is the fact that justice is protecting those who deserve protection, and it's also punishing those who deserve punishment. Like that, they want justice, and they also want some form of like restoration. Imagine being relocated or having to flee from your homeland and live in a shanty, refugee camp with no food, no clean water, no education, no opportunity. And you don't know how long that's going to last. They want restoration. So we can play our part and never minimize what you can do, especially when it's, grabbing the horns of the altar and praying for, our brothers and sisters who are undergoing this persecution and asking God to move on their behalf.
Yeah. And there's and you never know how God is working, because and this goes actually to what we learned at church, which I'll get into after at the end of the podcast. But um, man, it there the God when God is silent, so to speak, when we don't really see him or hear from him, and we're like, man, like what is God doing? Where are you? That's when he's actually working the most. Like you never know what door is going to open that he will provide a way for restoration, for justice, and for protection. And I'm glad that you brought up prayer. I've been reading most ironically this week, Luke 18, where the widow, the parable of the widow, and she wants justice over her adversary and is asking this unrighteous judge, like it literally says he doesn't fear God and respects no man. But this lady, ends up at the end giving her justice because she's just pestering him like every day. And he's like, I'm gonna give it to her. I'm gonna avenge her and her adversary and give her justice because or it says she's going to wear me out. And it's like, well, if the unrighteous judge will do that, how much more will God
Mm,
avenge those who continually seek him or cry out to him, and or who are his people, his elect, right? Not that there's some kind of elitism thing that's going on, but those who cry out to God, like he's not slack in saying, I see you, I know what you're going through. So the at very least we could really have that prayer wall in our house, or just
yeah.
consciously pray and pray and pray and seek not only justice but the restoration aspect of that. And we have the means to do it here in America. Like let's not be. It's been done before. I was just reading in this past week about the Japanese Americans that were put in those internment camps when Pearl Harbor happened, and in 1988 there was a Civil Liberties Act where they restored. They got like I think that back in the day was $5,000 per person per household. So if you had a family of four, that's 20K right there, which is in those days, the way money was, it's a lot of money that you can have. Or it might have been actually higher than 5,000 a person. It might have been like 25, I think. But anyway, we have the means to like help people to do these things. It's just we got to push people in the right areas of politics and in legislation and stuff to really help in that aspect.
And this is the other thing, Matt. Like, at least I feel this way sometimes, especially when we're talking about foreign policy and in other cultural contexts in another country, right? I feel like I don't know enough. I don't want to open my mouth because I don't want to say something stupid. like I don't want to say something that's just like you can't do that. Like no, we can't just do like I don't want to look like an idiot. And so then Satan will use that to silence us. But
Mhm.
the other side of it is okay. Well, why don't we ask somebody? And the thing about our letter that we put together with our partners is, I mean, I'm not a policy expert. I'm not an attorney. I've never been in Nigeria. I've been to Africa, but I've never been to Nigeria. Um, so ask the people who work with the persecuted church. And so when you talk about Global Christian Relief or Open Doors or International Committee on Nigeria, or people like Senator Mark Walker, and others who are involved with this on a daily basis, and understand what they're saying, but also hear from some folks on the ground that are Nigerian, hear from survivors, those sorts of things. Put all that together. So our letter that we presented, yeah, it's a bunch of football players and spouses and chaplains that have signed it. But we're engaging with people who know what they're doing and what they're talking about to offer these types of, policy recommendations like, more humanitarian aid and making sure it gets to the places that it needs to get to.
Mhm.
Those sorts of things. And so I just want to encourage folks that if God has burdened you for something, and we hope that He burdens you for the body that is suffering around the world, don't feel like your lack of understanding on what to do or the whole context of what's happening. Don't feel like that prohibits you from being an advocate. There are plenty of on ramps to understanding and gaining knowledge so that you can speak from a place of understanding, but that you can also partner with those and support those who are doing the work on the ground.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Ben. And taking a hard left turn. Speaking of understanding, we got to try to find out what and understand what's going on in the league right now. In the NFL, because man, crazy weekend of football. Which I feel like every Tuesday morning when it come on, Jason, I'm like, what
Yep.
the heck just happened over the weekend? And I guess we'll start with I guess some of the crazy finishes, which it's funny if you talk about the NFC, there was, two kind of crazy finishes between the Bears and the Packers, and then the Lions game, which actually was the Steelers that they were playing. But crazy finish. Let's start with the Steelers and the Lions because I think Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he knew what he was doing, but he helped us out because ended up allowing us to clinch a playoff spot.
Matt, was that weird that Bears fans were cheering for Aaron Rodgers?
And us meaning the Bears, I'm assuming, right? Because us for me is, I grew up a Bears fan too, so I'm like low key happy. I was a kid. I first started watching football, really paying attention in the '85 or so. I was born in the '80s, so I kind of paid attention to '85, and I was like, yeah. So I mean, that's why you like one of my favorite running backs, bro, because you got that Bears jersey.
See that? But yeah, I mean, it is definitely weird to have people that were cheering Aaron Rodgers on us. Probably a couple of weeks ago, they were hoping that he would have played in the game at Soldier Field, try to get some get back on him from a few years ago when he told all of Soldier Field that he owns them. So, but it's a funny thing how God works things out. He ended up helping, in order to get the Lions in a bad place where they're, they got to win out and then hope that the Packers lose out in order to make the playoffs. But it's a good team, though.
But that's football, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
It's football, isn't it? It's like, somebody can be your arch enemy at one moment, and then they change jerseys, and all of a sudden you're buying their jersey because they're on your team now.
Yeah.
And it just goes to how fickle we are sometimes as fans and how we like hate people, but really you just don't like them beating your team. I did see that last play though, and we were talking about it, with St. Brown and, the penalty and those sorts of things. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that was a penalty? I mean, we're both offensive players.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it definitely was, primarily because of, I saw one angle. I didn't see if he extended his hands. It looked like he did. But when you're at the goal line, they always teach you about using the forearm. Don't extend your elbows and your arms. And then when you saw the reaction of the defender,
yeah,
it didn't look like he was acting. It looked like he actually got pushed because he was in the back pedal,
mm-hmm.
and then St. Brown hits him at the goal line. And when those arms fly out like that, that flash.
It's a pretty clear indication. And it wasn't like a basketball, like a flop or something like that. It looked legit where it was like, this is the main play of the game where he's really, think about it. Like Jalen is a premier DB in the league, right?
Yeah.
He knows where to put his feet at the kind of like 1 yard in the end zone to where I'm going to break on this ball. And you do see Amon St. Brown's hands go out. As you said, offensive guys, I think he knows this, but at that time, everything's running through your head. Like, I'm trying to get the ball, trying to win this game.
End of the game.
You're supposed to keep that elbow a little low and push off from the hip. The referees don't see this as much as they see that. Yeah. So as he pushed, and it's a clear push. You can't do that 10 yards down the field and push off and try to get that. They're going to call that all day long, which I'm actually surprised that they actually really call it, because sometimes in those situations, they let them play. But
especially when you at home.
Yeah.
But the rest of the play was sweet though. The lateral was sweet. The rest of the play was sweet outside.
It was. I mean, the thought process to lateral it too. It looked like the Steelers defense kind of just stopped on the play, and then he laterals it. And if it wasn't a push off, I think that would have been a real tricky. I wouldn't want to be the ref to have to make that call, because was forward progress stopped? How do you stop forward progress in the game, at the end of the game, at a position like that? It's kind of one of those.
The call by the refs was touchdown. If you hear him at the end of the game, he goes, "The ruling on the field is touchdown, Detroit. However, on the play, offensive pass interference, and the game is over." So they actually ruled a touchdown, and that would have been, the Lions
game
fans.
Over, because it's a defense, it's an offensive penalty, so game over.
And it was the last play of the game.
What do y'all think about that rule too? Like ending the game just because offensive penalty? Because I don't know how I feel about that all the time.
Well,
I think
because
it's
you
one of
end
the
up
things.
rewarding the offense. So if they got the ball back, you're rewarding them.
That's true.
In that
That's true.
case, if they
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
play.
yeah. I guess that's only fair. I guess when it comes down to something like that.
But that wasn't even the newsworthy part of the game, though.
It wasn't. No.
Was it the part of the fan? Was it the
DK. DK, what are you doing, man? This is really good here. Let me set this up because I have both guys here who played a long time in the league. So DK Metcalf, the camera showed him. He goes over to a fan who apparently had like his number 4 jersey and said something to him. Later on in the reports, he apparently the fan was interviewed by somebody in Detroit and said all he said was DK's full name, which I'm not even going to try and say on the show, but DK took exception. Apparently he kind of pushed, maybe, they called it a punch initially. Then ESPN was calling it a punch. Then they kind of dialed back and said it was a push. Either way, it's probably not good to get involved with a fan during the game. But I would love to hear your guys' reactions because, not even just what DK did, but you forget, like, I've been to football. My first game ever, guys, I went as a Cowboys fan to the old Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia and sat in the 700 level rooting for the Cowboys against the Eagles. That was a big mistake. Big mistake, I'll just say. Because I saw things and heard things at a young age.
Did they give you oxygen? You had to pump oxygen to 700.
Cow. I almost wanted to just leave, to think Dallas won the game. But fans are rabid and they're crazy. And so just from your guys' perspective on DK, what he did, but also kind of just dealing with fans and what that's like as NFL players.
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'll let Ben go. I've been into hostile environments, played in Philly, where they were telling the same, halftime and pregame and postgame, make sure you keep your helmet on because, sometimes people throw batteries, they throw coins.
So they tell you that. Keep your helmet on.
Yeah. They tell it. Well, now whether you do it or not, some guys, feel like a lot of dudes do feel invincible. But for me and myself, when I'm especially coming on to the field, I'm like, I'm gonna put my helmet on. Like, coming out of the tunnel at Lambeau, it's really crowded. Like, people can honestly touch you right there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even in Detroit, like the stands, like everything's like right on you. You can hear people, you can hear what they say, all kind of things. And I think if you are engaged in the game fully and like focused, I don't really care what they talking about. Like you're in the stands, you pay money to watch me, whether it's your team or it's not. You watching me on the field. So, if you say something crazy like how the NBA is a little different, they're really, really on them, and they started doing the thing where a guy who has some clout, I guess, or even depending on who it is, sometimes they're like, "No, that dude said this, get him out of here," and they'll kick him out of the game. They can't come back. They're banned from the stadium, all kind of stuff. So if it gets to a point where it's like crazy disrespectful, something like that, I would definitely just, hey, where's our security guy? Go tell them to get this guy or this person to stop talking or to get him out of it or whatever. Now, I'm not going to go over there myself, grab him and, give him a piece of my mind or whatever, or do anything like that, because you have as a player, you have more to lose than that person does. And you're not going to win. You're not going to win those battles. That's like fighting people on social media. Like, you're never going to win that battle. Everybody's just going to continue to come and you look like the bad guy versus the other person. But they got to take account in the grand scheme of things. You got to take account for what you say, and the other person will have to take account for what they do and what they say as well. Fan is literally short for fanatic. It's fanatical, right? So like, that doesn't mean there's logic within it. So if people say a lot of crazy stuff, my thing is, so only time I draw the line is, look, say what you a fan, y'all gonna say crazy stuff anyway, y'all gonna do stuff, don't touch me. That's where I draw the line. Like, even if I'm in the streets, you can say, whatever. I was actually in Chicago one time, and this is early in my career, and I'm walking with Danielle because she was in school downtown at one point. I think this had to be the off season, but I used to walk around. I got a hood on, hat stuff, but people somehow would just kind of pick you out. This
What do you
dude,
say now, dude? Freaking Matt
bro.
Forte,
But
Chicago. Bro,
I have like
how,
how you can't see me. I got like everything on.
dude, them daggone traps.
No, so
Them
I'm
traps and quads.
I'm walking
We had some
around
great pants on too back in the day.
and yeah, skinny jeans. No,
Yes.
so I'm walking up and a guy goes, "Oh man, is Matt Forte." I'm like, "Yo, like keep your voice down, like chill out, okay?" And he's like, "Man, let me get an autograph." And I'm like, "Well, I don't have it. I don't just carry pens on me. Like, I would, but I don't have anything to sign." And he's like, "So you're not gonna sign?" I'm like, "I don't have anything to sign an autograph with." And he's like, "Man, I pay your salary." And I turned around and I said, "Hey, you don't pay a thing for me." And Danielle like snatched me real quick. It was like, "Hey, leave it alone. Like you can't do that. You like and then just I had to walk away. It was one of those moments like I would have loved to have done, kind of show that person, oh, you think you paid my salary? Let me show you something. So, but biblically, only a fool gives full vent to his anger, right? I would have had way more to lose than the other person. I wouldn't have, even though I might have been within my right to say, "Hey, bro, and let me teach you something." But my thing is, you gotta keep your calm, you gotta
Yeah.
keep your composure when it comes to stuff that's illogical, even if it's someone who's a super fan or something like that. Uh, and honestly, when you come in contact with people, I love the soft word turning away wrath, because people, when I have been encountered by somebody, even from the Packers side, or I actually meet a lot of people and they end up confessing their sins to me. They say, "Hey, let me take a picture with you," all this stuff, and they're like, "I'm a Packers fan." Like, I don't care what kind of fan you are, but they are definitely thrown back and kind of like, "Oh man, he's a normal guy. He is a guy who is approachable. He's not unapproachable. He's not bigger than, like some of these celebrities who are like, man, don't talk to me, don't touch me, all that stuff." But I had, to kind of figure out that early on. It's like, man, you can't, especially when it comes to social media and stuff like that. We didn't come from a social media age and growing up. Like we old school. Like you say something crazy to me, I might knock your teeth out. But when it came to social media, it was like people say crazy, especially Twitter. Like people were saying crazy stuff. That was like the first wave of social media. But Ben, I don't know if you ever had any encounters with fans where it kind of was on the borderline of going one way or the other.
Um, I'll put it like this. Going back to DK, first of all, there's always another view of what happened. So I saw another view of what happened that showed the complete. And while the first one looked like a punch, the second one, he grabbed him first, pulls him, and then what looked like a punch was the reverse. He was letting him go because the punch all looked funny anyway. Now, there's no excuses for that, as you mentioned. When I've encountered fans before, I'm kind of like you. Like, you touch me, that's a different thing. I don't like what people say, of course, but I think it escalates, at least legally, when there's physical contact. So there's a legal escalation there. There's also just the overall, the way it looks, what you lose. That's the biggest thing to me. But with DK, I want to know what the guy said. I mean, there's no way he comes into the stadium, DK Metcalf that is, and decides today I want to have a conversation or a conversation with this guy out of 70,000 people. There's no way he just decided, and he was just so bored on the sideline that I just decided I want to go talk to him and have a conversation with him. No, there was a reason why he went over there. And so I want to hear that. Now, there's no excuse for him touching the guy. And it's going to be really expensive, very expensive. He might miss some time. We'll see what the NFL decides to do. But there's a dance that happened here, and I'm glad you mentioned like in the NBA. I have no idea. I went to an NBA game, when I was first in the league. I've gone several times, but I can't understand how these people sit here and yell obscenities at people while they're at work. Yeah. These guys are at work for another team, and you're 5 feet away from somebody who is 6'7", can jump out the gym, and you're yelling at him, and then you expect everything to be cool, and then get mad at him when he retaliates towards you. Like, it doesn't make sense at all. So I've also said that clubs in the NFL as well as in the NBA, especially because I was telling my son about the Malice in the Palace after we watched the video of DK. I was showing him that. But these clubs, whether they be NFL, NBA, need to remind their fans, go support your team, but don't be yelling obscenities, throwing stuff at other people. Like, that's just human decency.
Yeah.
Like, there should be no acceptance of that. I mean, the whole fanatic thing, make noise, do all that type of stuff. But it really bothered me as a pro athlete when I would go to a stadium, on the road, and look, whoever I played for, our fans did the same thing to them. So I'm not saying that our fans were like perfect.
Yeah.
But it bothered me going on the road and having people yell obscenities at me, call me out my name, just say things that were totally inappropriate when I haven't done anything to them except wear a different jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And like, literally tomorrow I could be on your team, and then everything will be all good. So that whole situation with DK, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. And it's a testament to players' self-control in the NFL, specifically NBA as well. But it's a testament to the players being able to control ourselves, because quite frankly, there should be more instances of that happening. Because as you said, you can hear everything that these people are saying, and they ain't got no business saying it. Like, there's no reason why I should be pulling up to play the New York Giants on the bus. And as we turn the corner into the stadium to MetLife, there is an adult standing there, a man, and what looked to be a 7-year-old kid. And both of them are giving us simultaneous middle fingers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You ever played in Oakland? Yeah, you go.
Yeah. I mean, that makes no sense, And so outside of what are you teaching your kid thing, football, sports should not be an excuse to act like a buffoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, there's plenty of people like you going there for an experience. Maybe someone next to you, like, you could hear if someone got their son or daughter with them, and you're calling guys all kind of names, and they're hearing that, somebody trying to probably raise their child in a certain way that's, just, I'm here to enjoy the game. You're ruining it for them too.
Yeah.
But I got, you're solution oriented.
At this point from DK though, what I would expect is for him to apologize for touching that guy, for him to say that was in a perfect world. I would love, if we were just painting a perfect world, I would love for DK to say, I was wrong for grabbing this guy up and touching him. I should have had more control. And I would love to hear whatever this guy said, the club to make some sort of, statement about fan conduct, because I do think that there were two sides to this. Yeah. Not that anybody's absolved of what they did, but the complexity of it and the reality of it is, I don't think DK just picked this guy out and said, oh, he looks like somebody I want to go grab up today. And I don't think that the fan just was an innocent bystander that did nothing to try at least to provoke a reaction that he ended up getting.
Yeah, there should be accountability on both sides. But I was going to say, you're solution oriented. Me too. I think there is a solution to this. We need to bring back office linebacker. Where you remember those commercials where they had the office linebacker? So depending on what position, it's just, if it's DK, it's office receiver or office running back, office tight end. And we pull up to your job and, we harass you while you do your job. So I think it's only fair if we would be able to do that. Now, it might not be Christ-like, but Hey,
it would prove a very salient point. Yeah.
Well, alcohol and tailgating and somebody, not everybody is this way, but a lot of the guys who are the ones that are out of control have been heavily influenced as well, sadly, for hours upon hours outside, or wherever, getting under the influence. So that's not helping you. I'm not saying you're not allowed to drink alcohol, but I'm sure that contributes to it too.
Yeah. So what is one of the one of the, I guess, wildest stadiums you've played in? I've played in, I think every stadium, not some of the new ones that they've built so far, but like Buffalo was wild, Lambeau's obviously wild, Philly was one.
I mean, Oakland,
Oakland,
Oakland, just the whole scene pulling up to the stadium. Like, you got people out here barbecuing, you got fences up, there's this haze. Part of it is marijuana. Part of it is smoke from the barbecues and from the tailgating, and then part of it is just probably like a little mixture of pollution and seagulls. It's just this weird feeling, and you're on the West Coast, and then you go out there and you're playing on this old baseball field back in the day. Remember that?
Yeah.
So Oakland. I mean, these fans are very rabid. They love their team. Sad that they don't have them anymore. But Oakland was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Shout out though, and I don't know if you experienced this as far as stadiums go, but playing in New England, everybody hated us. Everywhere we went, that people just hated New England. And so there were two places I remember playing in where I don't remember getting, middle fingers. It was Indy, ironically, and Dallas. Now I don't know why, but I'm like you. I played in every single stadium. Miami was weird too. Miami was a crazy stadium only because you might see body parts at that stadium that you usually don't see at other places. In Miami, you guaranteed to see some body parts. But Dallas and Indy, I don't know what it was about the people there, but they seem to be the most respectful fans. And even if we were winning, they just seemed to be, the people behind you weren't like crazy. It was odd. I don't know.
I don't know about that too. I mean, I played in Indy too. That's actually my rookie year, first game, and I don't remember getting any like bad stuff. But also Dallas played many times, even in the new stadium too. And I think Dallas, it's very much for just entertainment for them. Yeah, they came for the experience. Yeah. Like we beat the dog mess out of them, and we're coming through the tunnel where it's like the club, like the glass part, the plexiglass part. And you got Dallas fans that are like, "Hey guys," like they enjoyed it. I'm like, we just beat the crap out of y'all. They're like, just having a good old time. But speaking of good old times, man, that Bears game was crazy. We got to talk about that real quick. The ending. So first of all, them getting an onside kick, or being able to score on that fourth down play, getting an onside kick, which never happens really. It's a very slim chance. And then in overtime, I don't know, the way the game go. I've played so long with the Bears and I've seen so many times that us be on the opposite side of stuff like this, that it was very satisfactory and it felt good to be on the right side of the ball this time, to where, man, I wish I was playing in this type of offense that they run, first of all, but second, that they my prediction at the end of the beginning of the year, Jason, was 8 games, I believe, and we're at are we at 10? We're at 10 or 11.
Ben, he said, Matt made the prediction back in August that the Bears would finish over 500, which means 9-8 or better. And we all my eyes got pretty big when he said that, because I don't think anybody saw the Bears, even going that far of finishing over 500, much less making the playoffs. Matt, you failed to mention the Bears are in the playoffs.
That's right.
In 2025, the Bears are back in the playoffs. Come on.
After a 5-year drought,
Yeah, but they were 8-8 in 2020, so I don't count teams that go 8-8 and make it to the playoffs. I'm sorry, that's just me.
You don't count them?
Nah, I don't know. I mean, they lost like 23-9, I think, to New Orleans that year. I don't know. 8-8 doesn't feel like a playoff team, but when you go 10-5, I think they are right now, or 10-4, 11-4, they could make a legitimate run here and have a couple home games in the playoffs. So it's really fun to watch. Surprising too.
I was sitting there. I was in Oxford, Mississippi at that point, and we had got done with that Ole Miss, covering that Ole Miss and Tulane game.
Oh, don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. Right, man?
We should probably talk about that. But so we were sitting there at a restaurant, so it was on mute. But so I saw the throw that Caleb made and the catch. I mean, that was incredible. And then in overtime to Ja'Day Walker. So Ja'Day hits that celebration, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I asked my coworker, a guy named Chris Doran. I was like, dude, Chris, where did he play at? Because I remember seeing this over and over again while he played at Texas A&M. And with SEC Network, we covered Texas A&M, so I had seen him do it. So when he broke out the celebration, I was like, oh, I know exactly who this guy is. But I'm excited for the Bears. Like I told you, I grew up watching the Bears. I think the NFL is better when the Bears are good. Like Soldier Field's a special, Chicago's a special place. I texted my cousin who loves the Bears. I'm already thinking like, man, I will go to a playoff game with you and sit in the cold with my snowsuit on and everything else. If they have a home playoff game, like it's that type of thing. So I know you're happy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'm not gonna sit in the cold, but I might I might petition somebody who I know try to get some sweet seats. So
well, yeah, I'll walk in the cold. I'm with you though. I ain't sitting in the cold, but I will be cold getting from my car probably to the stadium.
Yeah, but no, it's exciting. I think hopefully with the news that came out last week, maybe if they keep winning, that they can get a stadium wherever they want to put it. I would they were talking about possibly looking into Northwest Indiana because if things aren't working out in the time frame that they're looking at and stuff in Arlington Heights, which is crazy because I just can't see the Bears.
What do you think?
Leaving Soldier Field is just weird. But I would have hoped because that initial plan that they came out with, they showed an expansion of the lakefront, close to where Soldier Field was. But, that's an insane project where you're going to play at Soldier Field while building this other one. And then once that's open, kind of dismantle Soldier Field in a way that, it's kind of an area that is still, the columns are left up. But in a perfect world, that would be a great scenario where there's an amazing stadium that's, able to host a Super Bowl and different things like that. But I don't know what's going to happen because they bought this giant racetrack plot of land out there in Arlington Heights. Doesn't seem like the people out there really want that to happen. And the people in politics, I know the mayor, obviously, he came out saying that he wants the Bears to stay in Chicago, which they have to. It's like what do you go back to George Halas? He started the NFL, back in 1920. And that's what 1920 Halas Hall. That's the address.
Yeah.
And it's the Chicago Bears. I could not see it leaving and being somewhere or being some other kind of name, but
so
who knows what's going to happen.
I think the bigger question, and, I know we can move on, but when are you going to start working in the front office to some capacity?
We gotta
so that you can actually make this decision to stay in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta talk to Kevin Warren. He goes to church with us at Progressive Baptist.
I know.
So with your twin, Charlie Dates.
Of course.
And I gotta talk with Kevin to see if they would like my expertise in the front office with them. Because you know what, I could actually do twofold. Help with the business side. And learn a lot too. I don't know everything business wise, but also in the front office when it comes to recruiting. I got my guy Ryan Poles, who was a rookie with me as the GM, and seems to be doing pretty fine without me in recruiting. But you can always use some extra help in there with scouting talent.
Dude, I'm not just throwing that out there. I'm dead serious. I mean, you can still
it's got to come from you. I can't go ask.
That's what I was going to say, Ben. Selfishly, I kind of want Matt to still be a part of Sports Spectrum.
He can still do that, but no, I mean, I think you're in Chicago for a reason, so let's make that happen. I will mention Kevin next time I see him as well.
Yeah. Matter of fact, write a letter to the Bears and get all the guys to sign it around
60
the NFL.
former Bears to sign it with you, right?
Do that for me. But
Matt, you got to tell us your workhorse before we went from church real quick.
Definitely. Workhorse of the week comes from the Steelers game, the Steelers-Lions game, and it is my guy Jalen Warren, who 143 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, had 2 explosive touchdowns, and which kind of helped them propel them over the Lions. And surprisingly enough, at this time late in the season like this, if you're running the football like that, I know Aaron Rodgers loves it because it's taking a lot of pressure off of him at his 40 plus age. And you love that at quarterback. I think that's not something that you want to be having a lot of sacks and he's been through a lot. So not that I am having empathy or sympathy on Aaron, but hey, you got us clinching in the playoffs, so we appreciate how that worked out for us. And the workhorse of the week, Jalen Warren, man, hey, shout out to you, bro, because you put the team on your back this past week, and that's a good Lions team and a good defense that they ran the ball on like that. So
and on the road,
congratulations to him. Yeah,
and they won on the road. That was big. We got to hear what you learned at church. Now Ben's here too, so maybe Ben you can react. But Matt always shares what he learned at church each week on the podcast. It's my favorite segment.
Yeah, what we learned at church was really good. Pastor, Reverend Doctor Charlie Dates came from Matthew chapter 2, and it's when the Magi visit Jesus as he's born, and it talks about. So he kind of started off with what I alluded to earlier in the podcast, where he gave some stats about the issues around the world, where it does start with men, and it's kind of a crazy stat that he was saying, the percentage of men who don't have close friendships, don't have close community, is much higher these days than it was before. It used to be 38% of men would say, yeah, I got a close-knit group of guys or tight, friend or best friend. And now it's like under 15%. And so guys are extremely lonely. And we all know what happens when you're left to your own devices and lonely. But also if you look at every major problem in the world and minor as a root and trace it back, it lands at the foot of a man.
Yep.
And that's a problem that we have in this world, not just culture, in this world, is that when it comes to, lust, money, murder, like all these bad things, it just, for some reason, is traced back to men. Yeah. And so what he was doing is, if you read chapter 2, he went all the way through. I'm not going to read it. Is that basically there's a contrast in this between wise men, the Magi, wise men, and wicked men, which is Herod. And he said wicked men, they have insecurities even when it comes from a baby being born. Like Jesus is born and Herod literally has his insecure, like there's another king. It's like, could you imagine if Herod killed his own sons to stay king? He killed 2 of his wives to stay king. Like, he wouldn't care anything about baby Jesus. But also it speaks towards the wisdom that the wise men had to find him and rely on God to find him. And then also like the magnitude of God to use the star for them to be able to track that. And I like that he uses, so some of y'all that's super religious, ain't nothing in the Bible that say, track the stars and to look at the solar system and do these things. It's not a bad thing that the wise men were able just to listen to the voice of God and be able to go there. And when they found Jesus, the first thing they do is they worship. They worship him and they give him something. They offer him something of value. And it was one of the major points was that you can give without. You can't worship in truth without giving something. Now you can give something and not worship. People do that all the time. Like I'm paying my tithes and they don't actually really worship God in spirit and in truth. But you can't honestly worship God without actually truthfully giving something of value. And that isn't always what we're talking about with money. But they brought gold. They brought gold, myrrh, frankincense. Like, they brought these things of value back in that time, especially in today. Gold, the value of gold is skyrocketed actually right now. And it's just it's a convicting word when you think about what am I offering God outside of my worship when I go to church. And I'll end with this. One of his major points too was going to church. Just going to church, that is not satisfactory in the standpoint of just your worship. Like, you have to offer God something. You have to sacrifice and offer something of value that shows that you rely, and it takes an amount of faith to do that. If you don't offer, like if you're offering God's, like, I'm or you counting your pennies and you're like, I'm gonna just offer him this much, and then I go to church, I do the right thing, I don't curse, and you're basically trying to justify yourself. But when we offer God something of value, it shows that you trust him, that, hey, although this is something that is of value to me, that I actually need, I'm gonna give it to you because I know you'll supply all my needs in return.
Yeah. I mean,
Ben, what do you think?
I love that too, because I mean, what is the most valuable thing that we have to offer God? It's ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's why Romans 12 talks about offer your body as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Because the most valuable thing you can offer God is it's not your time. Like, it's not any sort of treasure. Like, it's yourself. It's your whole self. All the totality of who you are, your ambitions, your spirit, your flesh, your control, offering that and laying that on the offering as a sign of worship is what Scripture says in Romans 12. So I love that. I love the part about manhood. I don't think we can ever get enough challenges about manhood.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you started talking about, I started thinking about Adam, like our father, Adam. I mean, we're like him. Like, we remove ourselves from responsibility. We shy away from confrontation. We try to hide our sin. We do all these things, but the second Adam is the one who transforms us and allows us to debunk all of the lies in us from the first Adam, although we still struggle with the flesh. And so you're right. I mean, every single plague of mankind, whether it be, incarceration, homelessness, I mean, you name it, whatever disease that plagues us, they all have a manhood component. Teen pregnant, whatever it is, there's always a man component in it. And not that solves everything, because we live in a fallen world, but the challenge is that men, you can be, and you've lived this out, you can be the protector, the provider, the prophet, the priest of your family, of your community, not in your own power, but we do it in the power of God. I mean, I know you feel the same way, but I feel so totally inadequate to lead my family every single day. I feel like, Lord, why do I have a wife and kids? Like, I am a mess myself. Like, how am I supposed to do this? Like, seriously. But there is a manhood component, so I love that. I'll share real quick. I was traveling back from Oxford, and I caught a little bit of my dad speaking on YouTube, preaching, and he was preaching from Galatians 4. When the time set had fully come, God sent his son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those under the law, that we might receive adoption as sons. So he preached kind of a Christmas message talking about, from Galatians 4. But it's Christmas week. It's an exciting time. It just feels like a time of celebration. And that phrase, when the time had fully come, in the fullness of time, from the very beginning of time before time, God had already designed and knew when he was going to send his son to be born under the law by a woman. So he's fully God and fully man, in order to redeem us from our sin and to give us life everlasting. In the fullness of time, not before that. Even as you were talking about, the baby's born, the Magi travel for years to get to Jesus, the shepherds show up, Herod tries to kill him, like all these things that were happening, all this confluence of different, governmental influences and cultural influences, and the time when the roads were there, so the gospel, all these sorts of things happened. But it wasn't because of that. It was because God had designed in the very beginning that in the fullness of time, at just the right time when he wanted it, God was going to send his son. And like, that gives me so much excitement about this week and what it means. That the birth we celebrate the birth of a child, but the birth of a savior that
Yeah.
changed our fortunes, that fulfilled thousands of prophecies, hundreds of prophecies,
Yeah.
and that gives us our entire hope. Like our entire hope is based on this. Like we're not having this conversation if Christ wasn't born.
Hmm.
We may as well just do whatever the heck we want to do. Like, why are you being a good dad? Why does being a man matter? Like, why does it mean? What does it mean to live? A life that's above reproach as much as you can. I mean, if Jesus wasn't born, we may as well just act the complete donkey and do whatever we want to because tomorrow really doesn't matter.
Or if some things were just figuratively, which I've heard that argument. Like, do you think Jesus got up figuratively or literally? And somebody asked Pastor Charlie Dates that once, and he said, "Well, do you want your sins forgiven figuratively or literally?" And it's like, no, you literally want that because I don't know, it's just the human condition, which that's what it is. It's so crazy that I was reading Luke 18 because within that it was talking about how you know basically Jesus being able to literally forgive our sins is important. Like that's the main thing because people will try to argue with me or with people that Jesus was just a prophet or just a man. And it's like the whole type and that the message that your dad spoke connected to what Charlie Dates spoke yesterday in the fact that it is connected to where, yeah, no, he's fully God and fully man and at the right time, like the timing aspect, which it just blows my mind, gives me hope because if it wasn't at the right time, then the things, the prophetic things, like 1/4 of the Bible is prophecy, and all these things would not have been already, in place to be like, wow, in the Old Testament they were talking about this right here, and 400 years before this, Jesus even shows up, they mention this. Like it's just, it blows my mind. It gets me excited about this time of year because it's more than just about presents or gifts or spreading joy and cheer. It's the joyfulness that, man, God cares so much about us to literally have this set in place, already knowing what he has to do in order for us to be forgiven of our sins and say, you know what, I'm still going to walk that path.
Yeah.
And man, it's just so much to that. We could sit here and talk about it all day, but Ben, we appreciate your time, dude. And thank you for coming on and indulging us on Tuesday morning running back.
No, great,
I'm gonna
great.
have to get you on the show more often too.
I'd love to. No, this was great. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks for elevating, certain hard topics like persecution in Nigeria. Thank you for highlighting that, and just encourage anyone who hears to, check out the links, go do some research for yourself, and join in prayer, but also in advocacy, specifically on that issue.
Yeah.
I'll actually put the link to that letter and to the article in the show notes so people can grab it and check it out and share it. So yeah,
All right.
really good stuff. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you, guys.